of the world. Oh my people, seek the truth, avoid the evil, learn Yahweh's ways. Torah Life Ministries.
Hello everybody, it's Paul Neeson with Torah Life Ministries, and welcome to this week's Torah Parashah. We're in Deuteronomy, and this week we're going to read Deuteronomy 29:9 to Deuteronomy 30:20. And there's several different things this week after we see them. And this week we're looking at, after reviewing all the guidelines and instructions, which other people call Yahweh's laws, there's guidelines and instructions. Moses calls for the commitment, urging all the people to honor the contract they've previously made, the covenant that they've made with Yahweh, and the importance of keeping that. We must obey it. So in this week, Moses reminds them again, reviews the covenant, and he summoned all of the Israelites that were there. And he said, you've seen all these things with your own eyes that Yahweh has done. Don't doubt him, and make sure you continuously obey this covenant. Because there are consequences with breaking your word, especially breaking your word to something that you've promised to Yahweh. But we want to specifically look here in Deuteronomy 29:9. It says, therefore obey the terms of this covenant so that you will prosper in everything you do. You know, it says in Scripture, the righteous will bear fruit. And here it says, if you keep the terms of this covenant, you will prosper in everything you do. Now this is quite interesting because there are a lot of people out there that prosper that don't even know what this covenant is. And here the thing is, they're prospering according to the world. They might have a lot of money, a lot of cars, and so on, but they're not prospering spiritually. They're not growing spiritually in Yahweh. And when Yahweh says, keep the terms of this covenant that you will prosper, we got to look back forward into when Yeshua says, you know, do not store up your treasures here on earth. You're storing your treasures up in heaven when you live a righteous life. And so when he says you'll prosper in everything you do, just think about every time you follow Yahweh's guidelines and instructions, you're pleasing him. But even more, you're making an investment in your heavenly home. And there's certainly, you know, it says store treasures up in heaven, not here on earth. So man's ways is to just think about how I can get more money, how I can get more cars, and how I can get more of all this stuff. When Yahweh says, do not store up your treasures here, share them with the needy, with the widows, with the homeless, with the orphans, even with the foreigner, if the foreigner is willing to listen to Yahweh's instructions and guidelines. Now, the government today is saying something different. The government is saying today, well, you know, there's limits on what you should share and what you should do, and you have to do this and you have to do that. We need to listen to Yahweh's word, and his word tells us if we want to store our treasures up in heaven and to prosper in everything we do, what we got to do is obey the terms of this covenant. That's it right there. That's the scriptures right there. That's what Yahweh told us. He told us through Noah. He showed us through Moses. And then he showed us through Yeshua. Obey the words of this covenant. And then he went even in Revelations and told us what's going to happen if we don't obey these words. So we have to obey the words of this covenant. And it also says here in Deuteronomy 14, it says, but you are not the only ones who I am making this covenant with, and its curses that come along with being disobedient. I am making this covenant with both you who stand here today in the presence of Yahweh, our Elohim, and also future generations who are not standing here today. So this wasn't just something during the time of Moses, which most Christians don't even open up their scriptures to read. This was for future generations as well. We are that future generation. We must obey the terms of this covenant because as we saw last week in the Torah, there's many curses that are attached to disobedience and breaking our word, and many blessings that come with keeping our word. It says here in Deuteronomy 29:16, it talks about when the Israelites were in Egypt. It says, you remember how we lived in the land of Egypt and traveled through the other lands of the other pagans. And it says, you have seen their detestable practices, their idols made of wood, stone, silver, and gold. I am making this covenant with you so that no one among you, no man, woman, clan, child, will turn away from Yahweh to worship these gods of other nations, so that no root among you bears bitter and poison fruit. So we just said, it says here before, we see Yahweh telling us to keep the words of this covenant, so we're blessed. And it said in the previous week, it says, so you will have an abundance of good things if you keep the word. And then it showed us what many of those blessings are, but then it showed us with the disobedience what those curses were. Now, what is disobedience? Well, Yahweh warns us right here in Deuteronomy 29:16 that there are other nations that follow other gods and believe other things. And it says, do not follow those things. If you do, the root among you will be poisonous. or like a poisonous fruit. And what happens when we eat poisonous fruit? We die. We lose our life. And we have an issue here because there's so many people in the world today saying, well, I'm a good person, I'm a good person. It's not just about being a good person. It's about following Yahweh's guidelines and instructions. Because we can all be good people according to our own standard of what good is. But we have to look at Yahweh's standard, what's good according to Him. And it says what's good according to Him is keeping the words of this covenant, remaining faithful. And it says if you do that, my commandments shall not be burdensome. But if you try to do this, but your heart is not in the right place, His commandments will be very burdensome. So we must maintain the words of this covenant. We go on to see here what it says in Deuteronomy 29:29. It says, Yahweh has secrets known to no one. We are not accountable for them, but we and our children are accountable forever for all that He has revealed to us, so we may obey the terms of these instructions. You see, the problem with man today is man wants to look so far for the things that have not yet been revealed that they miss the things that have been revealed right in front of their eyes. And there are so many things that Yahweh has revealed to us. And it says here we must obey the terms of these instructions over and over again. Why do I repeat myself? Because Yahweh repeats Himself. It is so important that we do this and we get it right. But so many people today are missing this. It goes on to say in Deuteronomy 29:30, in the future when you experience these blessings and curses I have listed for you, and when you are living among the nations to which Yahweh has exiled you to, take to the heart all of these instructions. If at that time you and your children return to Yahweh, and if you obey with all your heart and all your soul the commands I have given you, then Yahweh will restore your fortunes. You see, no matter where we are, no matter how far we have drifted from His word, no matter how much we have lost, it says here, if you and your children come back to my guide, my instructions, I will restore everything you lost. And it shows us in Job, not only will He restore everything we lost, but He will give us double. So these things we need to take seriously. Most Christians today don't even read the Torah. They don't even know what the Torah is. How can you know what His guidelines and instructions are if you don't read the Torah? They'll say, well, we're not under the law. Well, do you stop at a red light? You are under a law, but you're under man's law. The problem is you listen to more to man than you listen to Yahweh. And Yahweh says here that curses will come upon you. You will get like a poisonous fruit if you want to listen to man, putting him higher than Yahweh. Yahweh's giving you a guideline instructions, whether you want to call it law, whether you want to call it Torah, whatever you want to call it. He's giving you the instructions, and He says you will be blessed if you follow these. It says here in the next chapter in Deuteronomy 31:6, love Him with all your heart, so that you may live. So that you may live and have life, for everlasting life. It's about everlasting life, folks. And it says here in Deuteronomy 30:11, and this is powerful, and I teach all the time about health, about diet, and all these other topics, and this is so powerful. It says we have a choice, and that choice is life or death. In Matthew it says, many are called, but few are chosen. But what it really says in the Aramaic, many are called, but few choose. We're all called, but we have a choice, and it says the choice is life or death. Here in Deuteronomy 30:11 it says, this command I give to you today, it is not difficult for you to understand, and is not beyond your reach. It goes on to say in Deuteronomy 30:14, the message is very close at hand and is on your lips and your heart so that you can obey it. Then it goes on to say in Deuteronomy 30:15, it says, I am giving you a choice between life or death, between prosperity and disaster. Love Yahweh your Elohim and keep all His commandments, and He will bless you in the land you're about to occupy. Well, folks, we have this wonderful treasure, and that's the true treasure here, Yahweh's Word. If somebody offered you the winning lotto ticket versus a Bible, most people will choose the winning lotto ticket. Do you know the curses that come along with the people that win the lotto? If you look at the millionaires that have won the lotto and the curses that have followed, it's unbelievable. But if you look at the blessings that have followed, that people have followed Yahweh's Word, it's truly amazing and a beautiful thing. And we see here, this week's Torah ends in Deuteronomy 30:20, but it says in Deuteronomy 30:19, you will have a choice between life or death. Choose life, so you may live. Everybody, there's so much to talk about in the Torah portions. It's hard to get them all in all the time. I'm trying to post them here each week. I might even go and do double days now, because now on YouTube they're letting 15 minutes. If you have any questions or comments about any of these, feel free to just post them below the videos, and I will answer them, because I'm doing a weekly Q&A for health according to the Scriptures, or even anything according to the Scriptures. We just have to love Yahweh with all our hearts, and we have to study out His Word and see what it says in certain situations. Not going by how we think, not going by how we feel, but His Word says is what we should be following with joy and with passion. We'll take a step back and look at Deuteronomy 30:15. It says, look, I'm presenting you today On the one hand, life and good, and on the other hand, death and evil. In that I am ordering you today to love Yahweh your Elohim and follow all His ways and obey His commands, regulations, and rulings. If you do that, you will live and you will be blessed. That's what it comes down to, folks. And all I can say is we're coming to the end of the Torah Parashah. We have Sukkot coming up. We're going to be starting all over again from the beginning. If you are not in the practice of reading the Torah Parashah, or don't even know what it is, each week at every Jewish synagogue all over the world, they read the first 5 books of the Scriptures in order. And they've broken this down, and they've been doing this for thousands of years. And they've been blessed for doing so. The only problem is many of those Jewish people don't know Yeshua as the Messiah. I've been blessed to know Him as the Messiah and accept Him as my Messiah, but I have not left what He taught. Yeshua Himself went in all the synagogues and all the villages preaching the good news of the kingdom, and He did that from teaching the Torah. There was no New Testament around when Yeshua was around. Everything came right from the Torah. That's what He taught, and that's what He quoted, and that's what He wants us to listen to, learn, and obey. Some people will say, don't take your eyes off Yeshua. There's no better way to look at Yeshua is by following the message He told us to. And He told us to follow the Torah throughout all your generations. He didn't change, and He never changed His mind. And if we follow that, we will be blessed. You probably haven't been exposed to this message in many of your congregations and your churches, because guess what? They don't teach that in churches. They're not teaching a biblical message. What did I just say? I just said they're not teaching a biblical message in most of the churches today. And this is why some people are confused when they hear me saying we must follow the Torah. Torah means guidelines and instructions, and this is the duty of every person. Every single person out there. And finally, before I go this week, some of you might say, well, I'm Jewish, I have to keep the Torah, and they're not. Well, let me tell you this. Judah is only one tribe of the 12 tribes of Yahweh that He gave the Torah to. And even more important, we have some words in Scripture that are oxymorons, and one of the most common words that's an oxymoron is the word Gentile. You cannot be a believing Gentile. That's an oxymoron. That's like saying I'm a believer, non-believer. Gentile means pagan. It means heathen. It means non-believer. When you become a believer, you become Israel. When you make that covenant that say Yeshua is my Messiah, you're saying I'm making a covenant with Yahweh that I'm going to follow all the words that Yeshua told me to follow, and I'm going to follow the Torah, the guidelines of our Creator. And it's like it says in the Scripture, you're not saved through salvation by your works, but without works you're dead. See, when you accept Yeshua, your heart is supposed to change. You're supposed to love what He taught. Not ignore it and run away from it and use grace as an excuse to keep living in sin. That's another misunderstood word in Scripture. Grace is not an excuse to keep living in sin. Grace is supposed to take our sinful nature so we see with our spiritual eyes the way Yeshua saw, and we start living the way He told us to live. We got to get right with this because we don't have much time, folks. The end times are coming upon us, and we got to start getting right with this soon. And even if they're not, we got to prepare our children and set an example for them if that doesn't happen. But everything looks like it's appearing it's going to happen soon, and we got to be ready. There's still time. Start reading the words of Yahweh's instruction guide, accept Yeshua as your Messiah, and you can have an abundant life in heaven waiting for you. All right, everybody, this is Paul Neeson with this week's Torah Life Ministries, Torah Parashah. Until then, everyone, have a great week and have a great Shabbat next week, and feel free to pass this teaching along to anyone you think might need it. Until then, have a great day, and we'll see you soon on Torah Life Ministries.
Come out of the world, oh my people, seek the truth, avoid the evil, learn Yahweh's ways.